Woke up at 4:10 in the morning, took a bus to the airport, flew to a different country, all to sit down and take a test. No one knew I was going, not my parents, not my friends, and if it went wrong, I needed to be something only I knew about. That number, 675 on the GMAT Focus Edition, is the equivalent of a 720 on an old GMAT, top 5% in the world. And I started at 555. This is the full story, not the polished one. It's what it actually felt like. Let me tell you who I was before this started. Economics grad, not a native English speaker. I'm Portuguese, and I walked into my first practice test with zero prep, zero plan, and the confidence of someone who had absolutely no idea what they were about to face. I got 555, and my first thought was, all right, 1 month, maybe two, I'll grind it out and be done with it. It took 6 months, two attempts, and honestly, it was the biggest roller coaster I've ever been on. So, if you're sitting at a 500 right now, or a 550, or whatever you are, this is for you. Not the person who's comfortable, but the person who's in it and isn't sure if it's ever going to work. Let's start with quant because quant was supposed to be my thing. I was one of the best math students back in school. I genuinely thought I'd breeze through this section and carry my whole score on the back of it. What actually happened is I just kept making the same mistakes over and over, faster and faster, to the point where I literally ran out of questions on the platform. I wasn't improving, I was just getting faster at making the same mistakes. The fix, when I found it, was embarrassingly simple. After every wrong answer, just stop, ask yourself one question: what type of mistake was this? Because under time pressure, your instinct is to start immediately, to react. Because if you start quickly, you feel in control, but you're not actually processing the problem. You're just reacting to it. And reacting is not the same as thinking. So, the process I drilled into myself was read, write down what you know, then solve. It's simple, and your brain fights you on every single time. So, you really need to be careful with this part. Now, CR, critical reasoning. This is where things got really dark for me. I remember this clearly. November. I just couldn't pass the medium difficulty quizzes. Not the hard ones, but the medium. Getting 50% consistently. And there's a big difference between getting a bad score and getting a bad score consistently. One bad result, maybe it was a bad day. Consistent bad results mean that something is actually broken. And I was putting in the hours, showing up every single day, and it just was not working. So, what did I do? I stepped away from it completely. Went to quant for a while, just let my brain reset, then came back to CR and did the application exercises again, just from scratch. And then one day, it clicked. I just can't explain it. I generally cannot put it into words. From session to the next, I just saw it differently. Just like that. But here's what nobody tells you after you crack a section. I cracked CR, went deep into quant for 3 weeks, and then my CR starts sleeping again. The GMAT is not three separate exams, it's just one, and all three sections, verbal, quant, and DI, need to stay alive at the same time. If you let one leak, it takes everything down with it. After months of section work, I sat down for my first full mock. I gave it everything I had. I sat there thinking, all that work, all those months, and it's just not showing up on the screen. The knowledge was in there. I just knew it was, but it wasn't translating, and that messes with your head in a different way. What saved me during this period, honestly, was the gym. When your head is in a fight like this, one that never fully switches off, having something physical to push against gives you something to put all of it. I remember those walks home every day, my parents asking how the studying was going, not having an answer I wanted to give. And that's when it really hits you. No one else walks into that exam room for you. I had a mentor at the time. She was giving me real good advice. And I remember hearing it and thinking, yeah, but I'm still the one who has to go sit in that room. No advice cures that feeling. Time does and the work does. But there's no shortcut through it. And studying for the GMAT is not like grinding through a work deadline. You cannot just overwork your way through it. Your brain needs to be clear, it needs stamina, it needs focus, and those things come from recovery, not from exhaustion, which is exactly where I was getting the mocks wrong. I thought volume was the answer, five, six, seven sectional mocks a day. By the third, I was gone, exhausted, sloppy, learning nothing. Cutting back to one or two a day with real recovery in between completely changed my data. My first attempt didn't go to plan. One section fell apart early, and on a GMAT, when that happens, it tends to carry. You're sitting there trying to hold everything else together while part of your brain is still stuck on what just happened. I came out knowing the score wasn't going to reflect what I had built. My parents didn't know I had gone. I came home, said nothing, did my normal day, and the next morning I was back at the library. I have this thing. If no one knows about it, then it didn't happen. You fail privately, you reset privately, and then you go again. At its core, the GMAT is a don't quit exam. It's not just testing your quant or your verbal, it's testing how you respond to failure, how you recover, how long you can keep going when the results don't match the effort. And for a lot of people, that is actually the hardest part. My exam was on a Thursday. The plan was clean: mock Sunday, rest Monday, mock Tuesday, rest Wednesday, test Thursday. Sunday, I sat down, gave it everything, a prep company mock. 4 days before the real thing. And I was there sitting looking at the 80th percentile. Once again, one of the worst feelings of this entire process. Because the window was closing, there was no time left. Sunday, I didn't know anything else. I just left it. Monday morning, I did some light exercises, tried to clear my head. And then in the afternoon, I don't even know why, I just thought, forget it. Let's do an official mock, which was something I almost never did in the afternoon. I always did in the mornings, but I was frustrated and I needed to know. I was sitting exactly where I'm filming this video right now. And that feeling that Monday afternoon was even better than the actual exam day because I hadn't told my mentor about Sunday mock. I hadn't told anyone. And then Monday just gave me the answer I needed. That Monday is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. Not because of the number, but because of what it meant. The work was there the whole time. Sunday was just noise. That's the GMAT. The variance is real. One day, everything collapses. Another day, it all lines up. Four 10 alarm. Bus to the airport, flight to Madrid, train to the test center. I got there an hour and a half early. The guy at the front desk, same person as my first attempt. He already knew me. 1 hour before the exam, I had coffee. I deliberately avoided caffeine for a few days so it would actually hit. That was my optimization. Not glamorous, but effective. My order: verbal, quant, break, and then DI. On verbal, zero notes, not one line. For reading comp, I spent real time with the passage up front. Because of that, the questions move fast. For CR, pre-think before I even looked at the answers. What is this paragraph doing? What could come next? I bookmarked 5 questions I wasn't sure about. 5. And verbal ended up being my best section of the day. Then quant. First question felt easier than I expected, and my brain immediately went, that means verbal was a disaster. You never know how a section went. That's one of the cruelest parts of the test. Then took my break, got some food, came back with 3 minutes still on the clock. Tried to wake up myself and did DI. I just felt off throughout the entire section. I just wasn't where I needed to be mentally, and I think the score reflected that. 6 months, 2 attempts, a failed first try I told no one about, a Sunday that nearly broke me 4 days out, a Monday that gave me everything back, and then I clicked submit. I waited. 95th percentile, 675. V88, Q83, DI79. And for a few seconds, I genuinely didn't know what to feel. Because for 6 months, everything had been pointing toward one number, and then it was just there. If I had to tell you what actually mattered, not the poster version, but the real one, it would be this. More questions did not save me, better review did. Stepping away helped me more than forcing it. Rushing was killing my score every single time. The 3 sections have to be trained together. You can't crack one and forget the others. And this exam punishes people who quit early. More than anything else, that's what it tests. No one expected me to do this. I came in at 555, failed my first attempt, I came home and told no one, and then I went back. You don't have to be extraordinary, you just have to refuse to stop. If you've got questions, just drop them below and I'll get to you all. And if you're in the middle of this right now, I see you. Keep going. I'm here for you.